Welcome back everyone to the WAM, and I hope you're ready for more TEW content as we are back and ready to continue on this momentum that we have built for ourselves here in the WAM, the Wrestling Association of the Mid-South. And we're starting with some admin today. I did some things with our database. I actually went through the in-game editor, accessed some of these companies, and I changed up some of their hiring habits. Southern Pro Wrestling, for example, I went through the in-game editor and I actually made some adjustments to the owners of some of our wrestling companies in this universe. Don Loomis, for example, the owner, the man in charge over in SPW. I went over to his business skills, and I did this with many of the owners of the federations around the world, but I changed up some of their roster size. SPW is very small, so we bumped up their roster size up to medium just to kind of simulate, for lack of a better term, more of a realistic company in their position. They are the third biggest company in the world. They were the biggest company in America for the longest time, but their roster has been incredibly small. We basically went through, and anyone that had a roster size of very small as an owner, we bumped that up at least to small or medium. So we're going to see the rosters expand here in our database, which might threaten some of our own WAM wrestlers. I think it's going to create some fun stuff, allowing us to see a little bit more liveliness from our database. We also went and checked out Goof Wrestling. Along with changing their roster size, I also added a hiring rule that whoever they bring into the company must be unemployed. This will cement them as that first step for people just getting into the database, the world of professional wrestling, or maybe some veterans that were let go. So hopefully this creates more realism. I didn't go too far beyond that as far as changing companies' hiring philosophies and stuff, other than just expanding their rosters. So we are going to see some developments from there. However, we've got our first edition of the Fortnite Fisticuffs in this episode to get through before we're going to see any of that ripple effect. And we've got a big show ready to go. It's chopped full as we can make it. As far as on the main card, we do have some pre-show matches that we're going to get into right away. Burbidia Abeta picking up a victory over Rhea Quarry. I believe this might be the first time that we see Rhea Quarry crack a 30 in-ring performance, so that's good to see. Burbidia Abeta, funny enough, is actually the most popular female on our roster, the only one that's not considered unimportant. So not what you'd expect, but Burbidia Abeta's doing her thing. She's putting it down in the ring, and she gets an in-ring performance of 41 as this match gets a rating of 35. Next pre-show match and final pre-show match is a tag team match. Ollie Schaefer and Moses Lilia teaming up to take on August Washburn and Brian Hatcher. We do see no rustiness, which I believe was the case when we first brought Ollie Schaefer on, but either way, he gets an in-ring performance of 31. As did August Washburn. Moses Lilia, the star of the match, with an in-ring performance of 51, picking up the victory for his team, and Brian Hatcher got a 41. Now as the show really gets going, we've got an irate Neil Allman, furious over his loss of the WAM Heavyweight Championship. Neil Allman instantly claims a fluke, that Black Bull cheated anything he could to cover his ass from taking a loss. The crowd would boo at every excuse Neil Allman made, only angering him further. Neil Allman would continue to raise his voice as the boos got louder and louder, until he was shouting in the microphone demanding respect. As the crowd's boos drowned out Neil Allman and the shoddy 1930s technical equipment, the former champion stormed out of the ring. Very angry, mind you. Got just a segment rating of 62, we even had him improvise, but we didn't get any extra bonus for it, unfortunately. We've got some low-tier females action between Mariana Calvo and Super Rabbit on the main card, and this match is notable because we would actually see Rolla Boy come in and attack and sabotage Super Rabbit's chances of picking up a victory here. Super Rabbit made a big splash a couple of shows ago when she assisted Super Monkey with Rolla Boy's shenanigans, basically counteracting them, nullifying every effort he was making to give himself a unethical advantage. And so Rolla Boy, showing the ruthlessness of his character, that he just doesn't care. He came in, Super Rabbit was running the ropes, but Rolla Boy hopped up on the ring apron, grabbed her by the hair, and basically caused her to get thrown down more or less with her momentum going so much the other way. This allowed Mariana Calvo to take advantage and pick up the victory here. Picking up a victory and getting a little bit of momentum. Mariana Calvo, she was definitely in that lower middle of the pack in the women's WAM Prix, but she's got some things going for her. And so we'll see how this continues to develop. Super Monkey is there ringside, but Rawler Boy just runs in, sabotages, and runs out. Kenny Wiles doesn't necessarily catch the hair pull or anything like that. Maybe he's tending to Super Monkey, or he's telling Super Monkey to back off because Super Monkey sees that Rawler Boy is coming down the ramp or something along those lines. Super Monkey's there, but he's not able to stop Rawler Boy. Match rating of 31, not the best match, but it was a little bit to be expected with the level of competitor and that hokey ending. But we get a little bit better match with Turner Spiller in the ring, just putting down Jackson Barden, dominating this matchup. It says Turner Spiller was really off of his game, but he still had an in-ring performance of 50, not terrible. Jackson Barden does the job and gets his ass beat here in this match in just under 6 minutes, thanks to the power body slam from Turner Spiller, match rating of 42. Now we've got the Wham OGs in tag team action, a very angry Neil Allman getting some of his aggression out because the heavyweight champion is actually going to be busy tonight. We've got a championship match in the main event, we'll get to that when we get to it. But we've got a great match on our hands here, Neil Allman with an in-ring performance of 68, really good stuff from the former champion. Bronson Fraley 51, Woodrow Gunter 55, and Maxwell Ham 56. Neil Allman and Bronson Fraley would do what they need to do to put down the other two and pick up the victory. Maxwell Ham and Woodrow Gunter just faced off in a triple threat for the Oklahoma Openweight Championship. Chuck Wellington was able to sneak out of that match still champion. So there's definitely some tension between Ham and Gunter, and it was visible throughout the match, but they're two good guys for the most part, and they tried to work together. There wasn't clear confrontation between the two, but it threw off their game a little bit, helping the Wham OGs just pick up a really decisive victory. Match rating of 61 as we finally got the crowd invested. More female competition between Ivy Baldridge and Veronica Lutter as we continue to try to establish the pecking order, some popularity for the ladies. Ivy Baldridge did herself a favor in establishing herself as a competitor as she was the first woman to secure a championship slot in the Women's Grand Prix. However, she came up short to Mio, formerly known as Kuni Hashiguchi, who was our first women's champion. Ivy Baldridge takes the loss to Veronica Lutter here. There was a lot of controversy and a lot of drama and attention around Veronica Lutter and Kuni Hashiguchi, now known as Mio, in the Women's Grand Prix. A lot of expectation that those two would be the ones to be in the final. However, it was Ivy Baldridge who got in there, and Veronica Lutter just shows that she is a top-tier competitor in the women's division. With an in-ring performance of 52, Ivy Baldridge was really off of her game at 28. We haven't seen that in a while, but she still doesn't have good consistency. Match rating of 45 as Veronica Lutter sends a message to the champion. Then we've got a really good trios tag team match featuring the junior heavyweights getting a match rating of 64 as we see the team of Hermenegildo Ramirez, his most two recent challengers Archie Filer and Super Monkey, picking up the victory over Joe Cartwright, Rawler Boy, and RT Lincoln. And we would actually see Super Monkey and Rawler Boy come to blows, basically taking themselves out of this match after a while, turning it into a 2-on-2 Joe Cartwright, RT Lincoln versus Ramirez and Filer. We would see Hermenegildo Ramirez, the champ, still the champ after a phenomenal match with Archie Filer at the Spectacle of Amazing Grapples, pick up the victory, hitting that Hurricane Rana on RT Lincoln. Hermenegildo Ramirez led the match with an in-ring performance of 71, leading the show actually, let's be real. Archie Filer 69, Super Monkey 53, RT Lincoln had a 59, Rawler Boy 45, and Joe Cartwright with a 55. So more tension between Ramirez and Filer, but Filer got 2 shots at the champion and he couldn't get it done. Hermenegildo Ramirez just did the damn thing at the last event. No shenanigans in the ending of the match, just he was the better man that day. Up next, before our main event, we've got Riker Zucker getting an interview with Rohan Marlowe, fresh off of losing the tag team championships despite being forced to defend them in a handicap match. Rohan Marlowe is extremely angry with the circumstances his so-called partner left him in. Remember that Sebastian Morales was working for Viva La Lucha that night. Marlowe demanded that Sebastian come answer for his actions. Morales would oblige, expressing remorse for not being able to be in attendance for the event, and states that he had no intentions of leaving Marlowe in that situation, but claims that business is business, subtly pointing out that Viva La Lucha is the biggest company in the world right now. Rohan Marlowe doesn't accept this answer, getting in the face of Morales, then claiming that Morales is jealous of Rohan Marlowe given that he eliminated Sebastian Morales from the Derby. Morales would dispute the claim, but Marlowe would slap Sebastian across the face. the two men butted heads, but were separated before the physicality could escalate. Segment rating is 62, and this was a totally organic thing that just kind of developed given the circumstances of the database. I had no intentions of turning these two against each other in this way, but due to Sebastian Morales working for Viva La Lucha, that really did not make Rohan Marlowe feel like he had a partner that he could rely on. Clearly, because he had to defend the titles in a 1-on-2 situation. But we get a segment rating of 62 as this rivalry gets kicked off. Our main event match of the night, unfortunately, match rating wise, this had no business being the main event, but it's a heavyweight championship match, so we're not going to put this down the card. I'm just not going to do it. But we have Chuck Wellington, the star. That he is becoming is a little surprising if I'm being honest, but he has given himself a shot at a man that he knows very well, Black Bull. And we would see Angus Wellington, Duke Wellington do as many things as they could to sabotage Black Bull, but that just wasn't going to happen here. Black Bull put it down on Chuck Wellington, showing the discrepancy of Black Bull as a man who scratched and clawed his way into the heavyweight championship and just beat the brakes off of everyone he came across, versus Chuck Wellington, who has been a conniving character this entire time, and he has been weaseling his way into championship status. He gave himself a title match here, he came up short. Match rating of 49 as Chuck got a 40 and Black Bull only down there at a 48, but he was really off of his game. The Dark Carnival in full make their appearance at the curtain. There is another silent standstill between Black Bull and his former faction. The tension was palpable, though Black Bull stayed put in the ring, without any clarity of the meaning behind this. The lights went out and the show came to a close. Segment rating of 47, and similar to how the last show ended, just a standoff between Black Bull, Bryant Hines, and of course Blue Mage and Craig Beaner in the back. Unfortunately, Blue Mage is looking very stale, so we're going to have to address that. But the show final rating, 51, and this was not what we wanted. It's going to lose us popularity in the Mid-South. Unfortunately, a really poor main event capped off the night, and we didn't get a hot start either, despite Neil Allman delivering a good promo. But it took a minute for the crowd to get into it, and overall, kind of underwhelming for the state that we are in right now. We're going to praise Super Monkey, Chuck Wellington, and Veronica Letter after the show. Strong financial profits, 42 grand, and we do bump down from 55 to 54 in the Mid-South. You hate to see it, but we do grow in our secondary regions. In some positive news, Talia Rayleigh has relocated to the Mid-South, so we're no longer paying her travel to come from Canada. And despite us losing some popularity, we got some excellent feedback saying the show went down really well. And we only advanced 5 days in game time, and you can see how many contract offers have come out from various companies, and quite a few including offers to our own guys. And this is going to get spicy here. SPW have made a contract offer to Raul Boy. We don't care about Oscar Kohler, but I like to see him get offers. Jackson Barden gets an offer from SPW. Chuck Wellington got an offer from SPW. We cannot let that happen. However, if I'm not mistaken, we've already got Chuck on an exclusive contract, so I don't think we're really worried about that one necessarily, but it's definitely not going to happen, I promise. Roger Stagg getting a contract offer from FNP. Randy Edson also from FNP. Joe Bryant Hines going to FNP. He's on the headline back there. Victor Garza getting a contract offer from Goof Wrestling. Goof is just the king of bad personalities. Tulio Navarro. Okay, that's just a Super Estrella. He's one of the biggest Mexican wrestlers in the database. Moses Lilia getting off from TWA. That's good for him. So we have one true person to keep an eye out for, which is Raul Boy. He is, according to this negotiation tab, no other companies have any outstanding contract offers, and any recent offers have already been rejected. And he's not signed with SPW, so he must not have been jiving with their contract terms, I guess. I don't know. And I believe that since we are at war with SPW in-game, that our own workers will recognize that, and they will know that if they accept that contract that they're not going to be working with us, even if it's not exclusive, because as you can see, I do not actually have Chuck Wellington to an exclusive contract, but he also does not have any outstanding offers or anything like that. So I don't think we have to worry about losing our guys to SPW, at least these guys right now, but we're only going to go a few days in at a time. But once we reach our next show, we'll take a look at everyone who has been signed with all these companies, because it is moving. Business is booming right now. And we have gone past a few more days, and a big one, Albie Dewberry getting hired by SPW. You can see that work that he did at Goof Wrestling got him noticed, and now he is a part of SPW. Good for him, I guess. Too bad he's with the wrong company. But Albie Dewberry, he's just one of those stories, you know. We had to release him. He didn't give up. He became champion in Goof, and now he's working in SPW. Hopefully they actually use him. A few other interesting names. Angus Wellington received a contract offer from SPW. I have no idea what in God's green earth they see in Angus Wellington, but maybe it's his performance stats. He is a manager, so that's the only reason that you would sign him. But looks like he didn't go with SPW. You love to see that. The guys are loyal here in the WHAM, and I appreciate that. And another headline that is hilarious. Goof Wrestling, again, this isn't me, this is AI, but D-Generation X have become a tag team in Goof Wrestling between Raul Erickson and Bobby Shrubsole. Two absolute no-names. Of course, we had Raul Erickson back in the day, and he's not any good. Bobby Shrubsole, I don't think he's even had a match in this company yet. Maybe he's had a few, but that is hilarious. D-Generation X has arrived in Goof Wrestling. But as you can see here, they made quite a few hires since we updated their roster size. Louis Fromm, currently working with FNP. He's only 19. I bet you he just got signed by FNP as well. Yep, he's a rookie right now. So young guy, terrible consistency. I would never sign him. I probably would never sign him. Victor Garza, who we know is an absolute scumbag. He started the now defunct Queensland Wrestling, and he's made his way back to America. He's actually got good stats in the ring and such, but just awful personality. Masatoshi Maruya, I may be mispronouncing that last name. He's in Japan, and they decided to bring him in. He's got a terrible personality, which is the theme for Goof Wrestling. Not great stats, but we'll see if he turns into anything. Raul Erickson, as we know, former worker with the WHAM, but again, he didn't produce anything past like an in-ring performance of 11 back when we were using him, but he's 6'7", 336, so good frame, but I don't know if he's a good worker. Rocco Gott, who looks a whole lot like Alexander Keith. I'm probably going to go in and change that because Alexander Keith is a pretty notable name in the database, so I don't really love seeing that. But he's another bad wrestler. Goof really knows how to pick him, though, I gotta say. Leroy Pyle, agitator personality. He's got good technical stats, so he might be able to ride off of that, but some of the worst performance stats I've ever seen in this game. 5'8", 215 pounds, obese. What are these wrestlers in Goof Wrestling, man? I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. He's got a bad personality. Nothing that's going to wow you, but he's better than the other signings that they've made, I'll say that. He's at least balanced in his primary skills, even though he's not good at anything. 19 stamina, 9 athleticism. He's going to be producing 5-minute matches. Mario Ruggles, he's got no picture. We're definitely going to have to change that. His stats, nothing wows you, but he's going to produce some better numbers than the other guys, that's for sure. Roland Kurth, their next one. They've got great stamina, athleticism, no performance abilities. Alright, Goof, you guys do whatever you want to do. That's the beauty of it. Let's check out their most recent show. Taylor Simmons defeating Ben Morris to retain the King of Goof Championship. No Albie Dewberry on the show, it looks like. He was probably working with SPW, but their shows are getting better. We do see Raul Erickson and Bobby Shrubsole, D-Generation X in tag team action. Masatoshi Maruya was actually the best in-ring performance by quite a bit. Rocco Gott in-ring performance of 3. Raul Erickson with a 7. Oh man, gotta love the Goof. But I love the fact that they got stuff going on. Victor Garza getting in the ring. He put up an 18. Leroy Pyle with a 35. Look at you go. I told you that strong technical skill is going to do him some favors. But Goof is not the only company that expanded their roster. No way, no how. We'd also see Super Estrella make a big push of hires. I don't recognize really many of these names, except for Tulio Navarro. Marceliano Gallago got himself employed again. Good to see that. And Emilio Suarez, El Espiritu. in Mexico, now working in both Mexican companies, which is interesting because he's the owner of Viva La Lucha, but also getting work with their main regional competition. FNP is another company that we expanded their roster, and they definitely made a few signings for sure. Let's check out a few of them. Raymond Rickman, Joe Bryant, Roger Stagg, Fritz Hattendorf, Ollie Farrar. That's a big get for them because he's a superstar over in SPW. He's got really, his popularity is actually not nearly as what I thought it would be, but he has been a tag team champion, no longer, but he was a tag team champion with Daniel Oisel for like almost 3 years or something like that. Don Wyant, Randy Edson, Keith Truax, and Bryant Hines getting himself some work outside of Wham. Look at that. The final company that we did make that change to is in fact SPW. Obviously, we kind of started with that, but they made quite a few hires. Fritz Hattendorf, Fumihiko Onoda, happy for the boy, Kelvin Gebhardt, Oscar Kohler, Moses Stowe. Look at that. He got noticed after his work at Goof Wrestling. It's been a very short time, but I think Goof Wrestling is doing exactly what we want it to do. Even if they're choosing some of the worst people you possibly could. Alan Deason, I don't know who that is. I don't know who Walter Gwynn is, but he has got a phenomenal headshot. Good Puro Rezo, good technical. He's going to produce some good numbers. He's only been around for 3 years. He is a troublemaker, but I think this guy is going to grow into a pretty solid worker. Cash Stanley, who if I'm not mistaken, nope, okay, I thought he was somebody with really, really good stats, but awful personality. He does have that sleazy personality, but his stats aren't as redeeming. Albie Dewberry, the big one, the big hire from SPW. Happy for the boy. We're going to see his popularity start to spike back up. And he was able to build it up to 13 in the Mid-Atlantic with Goof Wrestling. Saeed Wyndham, Wham alumni, and Rahan Dougal. I don't know who this is. Decent personality, okay stats, okay fundamentals, but I don't think he's going to be setting the world on fire by any means. We can also see that SPW has relaunched Combat Television. That's going to be big for them and their growth. They really need it because they're still at 55, and they have been at 55 for a full 12 months now. That's crazy. I haven't really seen anything like that from a company that was on top for so long. But regardless, looks like they are regaining some ground and making some moves to get back on track. Viva La Lucha, of course, the only medium-sized company in the world, 59 in their home region, and then they've even got some pretty solid popularity in America. You can see here that they also made a few hires, but that was just because of their rise to medium size. I did not alter their roster size or anything like that. And they've got Levi Andrews, probably the most popular worker in the entire database, definitely the most popular worker, and that certainly is doing them some favors. And we are right back into it with another edition of the Fortnite Fisticuffs. Of course, we've got some pre-show matches, tag team action, Verbidia Abeta and Wayne Blankenship taking on Jeremy Funderburk and Talia Rayleigh. Unfortunately, Rayleigh and Funderburk showed zero chemistry whatsoever, and Funderburk was really off of his game, resulting in an in-ring performance of 28 for Funderburk, 31 for Rayleigh, 34 for Blankenship, and Verbidia Abeta continues to shine with a 47. Just a match rating of 38 for this first pre-show match. Up next, we've got Moses Lilia handling business against August Washburn, taking down an easy competitor in just under 8 minutes. This is half of the tag teams that we saw in the last event's pre-show match, and we just got Moses Lilia continuing to get experience, continuing to get work, and we see him pick up a victory. However, to start the show, Gary G. Emick is in the ring alongside the heavyweight champion, Black Bull. Gary acknowledges what's on everyone's minds, the relationship between these two and the Dark Carnival. Right on cue, the Dark faction appeared at the curtain. Bryant Hines, equipped with a microphone, kept his statement short, but states that we are proud of you, before heading back behind the curtain. Not a real big segment here, and it really isn't definite resolution, but we do just get a little bit of confirmation that the Dark Carnival as of right now is docile towards Black Bull and Gary G. Emick. There's a lot of history, a lot of bad blood between Black Bull and the Dark Carnival. However, there seems to just be a little bit of rest in that conflict. But on a positive note, we see Black Bull looking good here, and we get a segment rating of 59 to get things going. Our first match, intergender tag team action. bringing these four in an official match together. They were involved in a one-on-one match between Mariana Calvo and Super Rabbit at the last event, but now they're putting it all on the table here in a tag team match. And we see Mariana Calvo and Raw LaBoy picking up the victory over the super duo that is Super Monkey and Super Rabbit. And there would be plenty of shenanigans going on. Raw LaBoy and Mariana Calvo really like enforcing a dirty fighting style, dirty tactics, underhanded moves, and anything that they could do to get an edge and create an opportunity to win the match. Super Rabbit, just like Super Monkey, is all about ethical goodness and, doing it the right way and everything of the sorts, and that is how these two have bonded. But unfortunately, Calvo and LaBoy are able to use those dirty tactics to one-up the super duo, picking up a victory here. Calvo with a 32, Raw LaBoy with a 45, Super Rabbit with a 30, and Super Monkey, great work, with a 57, head and shoulders above everyone else. Match rating of 45. Our next segment features Hermenegildo Ramirez being interviewed by Riker Zucker. Hermenegildo Ramirez comments on the poor state of the junior heavyweight division, citing that he has become bored with defeating the same opponents time after time. Hermenegildo would sarcastically plead for some real competition. He would end his time by stating that he will be ready for any worthy competitor. Segment rating of 54, just a little bit of reinforcement of Hermenegildo Ramirez. We don't really have anyone rightfully challenging him as of right now. He just put down Archie Filer, he just put down Super Monkey before that. He took the title from RT Lincoln, and Joe Cartwright hasn't really done enough to establish himself as a contender right now. We really have a big discrepancy between our championship-worthy junior heavyweights and the rest of the guys. When you look at the junior heavyweight division roster, you've got Hermenegildo Ramirez, Archie Filer, some of the best, if not the best, in-ring workers in the whole company, followed closely behind by Super Monkey, RT Lincoln, Joe Cartwright, really good guys. But beyond that, you've got Raw LaBoy, who's making a name for himself, but you're heading into Kamari Flanders, Jeremy Funderburg, Jackson Barton territory, Wayne Blankenship, So it's something that I acknowledge, and we're going to just see what comes from it. Segment rating 54. Up next, we get another segment as Matu Scarborough is in the ring for the first time since his injury. While he is in no condition to compete, he takes a moment to address the Wham audience, encouraging them not to forget about him, and that when he returns, he will pick up right where he left off, and better than ever. Segment rating of 53, just purely to keep Matu Scarborough's popularity from dipping down too much. I'm gonna basically use him as a little bit of an experiment, see if we can focus on improving his performance abilities since we can use him for promos and such, and find a way to keep him involved in that capacity. Another segment rating of 53. Moving into the next match, we've got a tag team championship match, as we've got Rahan Marlowe and Sebastian Morales once again teaming together, looking to take back the titles from the guys who took them in a handicap match. Diego Berrigan and Kitahachi Kukui, who are not any kind of heels. It wasn't their fault that they were competing in a tag team match, but they weren't going to turn down the opportunity to become champions. That's why they're giving the former champions a rematch. However, Sebastian Morales and Rahan Marlowe just could not communicate and could not coexist this way. There was too much tension between these two. Rahan Marlowe's got too much bitterness. Sebastian Morales isn't willing to be overly sympathetic to Rahan Marlowe because these are two men, two big heavyweight championship contender men that have been champions. And if I'm not mistaken, Sebastian Morales still is a champion in Viva La Lucha, the primary champion. So just general miscommunications, unwilling to cooperate and everything. Both guys kind of trying to take the lead and neither one willing to follow. And that leads to Diego Berrigan and Kitahachi Kukui securing the victory after Kitahachi Kukui hit Sebastian Morales with a high knee. We get a match rating of 58. Good work from these guys. Sebastian Morales 63, Rahan Marlowe 58, Kitahachi Kukui 41, and Diego Berrigan with a 46. And Rahan Marlowe and Sebastian Morales begin to shout at one another following their dysfunctional performance. The exchange consisted of some shoving and getting in one another's faces, but the physicality wouldn't go much further. Just a tiny little segment to really hammer in their issues and their miscommunication and their lack of chemistry at this point. Canonically, not in-game because they still have excellent chemistry, but we could just get a small segment rating of 46 with these two. Now our junior heavyweight main event Doesn't have a lot of stakes behind it. It's not a number one contendership match. We're not going to see the winner of this match challenging Hermenegildo Ramirez for the title at the next event. But we had to have a junior heavyweight exclusive match on the card, and we put Archie Filer and RT Lincoln one-on-one. Archie Filer, no surprise, takes care of business with an in-ring performance of 65, picking up the victory over RT Lincoln with an in-ring performance of 53. We get a match rating of 64 for these two. Archie Filer has not lost many matches at all in his time during Wham, just in general, but when he's not competing for the title, he has probably got a success rate of over 97%, or damn near close to it. So he is a machine, but he is extremely young, still just a little green and immature, and that has basically been his Achilles heel during this time, during this championship chase, as he's going after Hermenegildo Ramirez. But this match is not a championship match, so Archie Filer does the damn thing, picking up the victory. Now, our main event, I was definitely uncertain if this match was going to deliver the way that I had hoped, and we got an excellent in-ring performances. We've got Blue Mage taking on Neil Allman. Neil Allman, the former Wham heavyweight champion, defeating Blue Mage in 10.5 minutes thanks to the pounds. To no surprise, these boys went out and stole the show. Neil Allman with a great in-ring performance of 69, the best of the night. Blue Mage doing really good work for himself, getting a 58, and these two boys give us a match rating of 67 for our main event. Neil Allman just cementing the fact that he is next in line. He still gets his rematch for the Wham Heavyweight Championship. We haven't seen that yet. We're going to see it at the next event. But Blue Mage, in this act of good faith from the Dark Carnival, takes on Black Bull's number one contender. And that's just all that we've got behind this one. There's definitely still some high tensions between the Dark Carnival and the Wham OGs themselves. So, a little bit more development from there. Match rating of 67. That does some good work for us. Show rating of 63, increasing our popularity in all regions, and hopefully this bumps us back up to 55 in the Mid-South. After the show, we praise Super Monkey, Mariana Calvo, and Talia Rayleigh. Really strong profit, still sitting right around 40 grand, and we do climb back to 55 popularity in the Mid-South, as well as tangibly bumping up in every other region. In the background, we've had our merchandise upgrading for quite a while, and it has just completed its upgrade, and we are probably just going to go right back to upgrading the merchandise because we really have no reason not to. We've got more than enough money. It's going to cost $600 for rapid progress. It's only going to cost like $15,000 for this whole entire merchandise upgrade, so we're just going to start it, and we will see that improve fairly shortly. And for the first time, funny enough, we are actually seeing specific superstar merchandise. Neil Allman Black Bull. Look at that. They're selling some of their own merch. You love to see it. We're giving them terrible deals, unfortunately. We might just use that merchandise percentage as a tool to maybe increase some increase some morales if any of our bigger guys start dipping. I don't know. It's not really something I have thought about much in this save because it has not been anything to think about yet. So we'll see how it goes. And I could not forget to address Blue Mage's gimmick. It's incredibly stale now. He plays gimmicky and cartoonish style very well, so we're gonna stick with the gimmickiness, maybe not so much cartoonish, but we're just gonna go with imposing dark figure. It's very unique to him because there are not many imposing dark figures on the roster. We don't have a creative idea for it, but hopefully it gets a positive reception because Blue Mage, low-key, this man is pretty damn good. You can see what his original picture was, but look at what his stats have become. 76 brawling. His fundamentals are really consistent, really strong, really good performance abilities as well. He's progressing as an in-ring competitor. You can see his Puro Rezos bumped up to 40 just this month. He's got decent psychology and experience compared to a lot of guys in the database. So Blue Mage, only 26 years old, but he has flown under the radar, but he has actually built a nice resume for himself. And we are ready to hop right into another big show, another big edition of the Amazing Grappling Spectacle, the 94th edition at that. We've got some pre-show matches. We've got as many matches as Kenny Lyles can handle. There are no local referees, so we couldn't make any adjustments, so this is our only pre-show match that we've got for the night. We've got 4 ladies competing in a free-for-all match as Burbidia Abeta comes out on top against Sheila Velasco, Mariana Calvo, and Talia Rayleigh. Some pretty encouraging numbers here from the ladies as they continue to get better. Burbidia Abeta with a 44, very nice. Sheila Velasco 27, the worst of the match, but Mariana Calvo with a 38 and Talia Rayleigh with a 37. Pretty good performances from those two that we are not used to seeing. But of course, Burbidia Abeta is reaching that next level of competitor as she strives for her first in-ring performance of a 50. Match rating of 37 for our pre-show match, and we've got a pre-show segment as Ollie Schaefer gets an interview with Riker Zucker. Zucker asks what Schaefer brings to the table to set him apart in the WHAM. The young heavyweight responds by highlighting his pristine physique, stating he is the prototype athlete and his natural physical prowess puts everyone else to shame. So just a little segment here to help Ollie Schaefer gain some popularity. We were going to have him in a pre-show match, but Kenny Wiles just couldn't do 2 pre-show matches. Ollie Schaefer does have some strong performance ability, so we wanted to put that to the test a little bit. Obviously, he's still got very little popularity, so that hampers his segment ratings, but he does some work here. Now our first match of the night, Super Monkey and Rawla Boy going one-on-one with one another. Obviously, we've seen some issues brewing between Super Monkey and Rawla. Obviously, we've seen the issues brew up between these two. Initially, when Super Rabbit prevented Rawla Boy from untying the turnbuckle and doing some shenanigans, as such. This obviously rubbed Rawla Boy the wrong way, who ended up physically retaliating against Super Rabbit in a later match. We had an intergender match between these two, and now we just see this little mini feud culminate in a one-on-one match with these two. And Super Monkey does put down Rawla Boy with a pinfall thanks to his big top rope leg drop. Super Monkey with a nice in-ring performance of 54, Rawla Boy right on the other side of that with a 45, and we've got the crowd hot and rising as we get ready to keep going with the show. Match rating of 51. Tag team action, tag team championship action, mind you, as Kitahachi Kukui and Diego Bergen, the team of Barakui, put their titles on the line against a couple of junior heavyweights, Archie Filer and RT Lincoln. Of course, we had the excellent chemistry of Barakui on display. Archie Filer and RT Lincoln definitely did their thing, as Archie Filer got an excellent in-ring performance of 70, RT Lincoln up there with a 60, Kukui with a 46, and Bergen with a 50. But despite the great in-ring performances from the junior heavyweights, the heavyweights just show their might, they flex that muscle, they use that size advantage to pick up the victory. And this is a small way to still just highlight the way that weight classes are still perceived a little bit. And the general view in this game world is that the junior heavyweights are still lesser than the heavyweights. But we get a match rating of 59, really strong stuff, and we do see a successful defense of the WHAM Tag Team Championships. The matches continue to produce quality results as we've got Turner Spittler putting a beatdown on Joel Cartwright. And this match continues that trend that we just spoke about, is that heavyweights still kind of hold a distinct advantage to junior heavyweights given just the total in-ring style and everything. It's still very physical, generally ground-based, which gives a natural edge to the larger opponents and everything. So we got Turner Spittler imposing his will, being ruthless with Joe Cartwright, defeating him in just over 6 minutes. Turner Spittler, excellent in-ring performance with a 62, Joe Cartwright with a 48. We did not inspire the locker room tonight as we did that at the last event, but everyone is coming out with strong performances, I must say. Segment rating of 60 here. And afterwards, Turner Spittler looks to take things even further and inflict more damage on his beaten opponent after the bell. However, Moses Lilia would beeline it straight to the ring, and it was rather impressive to see a man that size move that quickly. Instead of breaking up the fight, he came straight for Turner Spittler, creating an entirely new fight. Lilia was all over Turner Spittler here, so much so that the ruthless heel had to retreat. Segment rating of 59, we're not done with this rivalry between Moses Lilia and Turner Spittler either. The battle between two large men with painted faces. Now in our next match, Oklahoma open weight #1 contendership match, Maxwell Ham, Woodrow Gunter. These two have been intertwined, Woodrow Gunter for a long time with Chuck Wellington, but Maxwell Ham more so recently, and They competed in a triple threat match, similar to the path that Matu Scarborough was going on. However, we do see Chuck Wellington was able to get out of there with his title, and now we've got a match between these two to find a definitive challenger for Chuck Wellington. And both of these guys get in-ring performances of 55, great stuff here, but Maxwell Ham is the one to come out on top. He hits Woodrow Gunter with the Dominator in 11.5 minutes, securing the win. Segment match rating of 58. Then, after an intense match, Woodrow Gunter offers a handshake to Maxwell Ham. Maxwell would return the sign of sportsmanship and accept the handshake. However, Chuck Wellington was seen at the curtain, laughing as he clutched his Oklahoma Openweight Championship. We inserted this segment just to keep Chuck Wellington on the card, keep him on the show, make sure he didn't miss out, get angry for not being there, but also keep his popularity steady flowing, because it has reached an impressive point right now. It's not the highest, but it is higher than I expected it would ever be. Up next, very physical competitive matchup between Sebastian Morales and Rahan Marlow, finally getting to take shots at one another. After their issues stemmed from Sebastian Morales being booked with Viva La Lucha, so he couldn't attend a Wham event, that left Rahan Marlow alone to defend their tag team championships. He was unsuccessful, and they've got beef. Sebastian Morales, he was remorseful, he apologized, but he wasn't going to go so far to ease Marlow's feelings or anything like that. Rahan Marlow didn't accept this, he kept pushing the issue, and now we are here. One-on-one match, and Sebastian Morales actually defeated Rahan Marlow here. Rahan Marlow came out on top the last time these guys went one-on-one, and that was in the Derby tournament. However, no major stakes in this one. Sebastian Morales was really off of his game, so he only got a 56 in-ring performance. Rahan Marlow with a 63. We would kind of expect better numbers from these two, given one, they have great chemistry as opponents, and two, they are both some of our best in-ring workers as well as most popular characters. So 56 is a little underwhelming, but not a bad match overall. Up next, we've got our very first defense of the Wham Women's Championship, as Mio, formerly known as Kuni Hashiguchi, defends her championship against Veronica Lutter. And ever since Mio captured that championship, and since she changed up that gimmick before capturing the championship, just right before, literally the match that she won the title was the match that she changed the gimmick. But anyway, I'm yapping. She has been a bit more ruthless, a bit more no nonsense, not taking any kind of shit. And she's doing whatever it takes now that she has become champion to stay champion. She's got, I want to say she's got championship pedigree in JJC in Japan, but I'm not too sure. Regardless, we would see Mio do whatever it took to pick up the victory. Veronica Lutter just kept coming back. She wasn't going to go down. Eventually, we would see the match come to an end really quickly with a quick cradle, catching Veronica Lutter off guard, kind of not a bogus way, but not as credible as a clean 1-2-3 with her shoulders flat on the mat. But none of that changes the fact that Mio has successfully defended her championship. She got an in-ring performance of 49, Veronica Lutter with a 36, and all in all, we get a match rating of 43. Now we've got Hermenegildo Ramirez back in the ring, defending his junior heavyweight championship. I actually meant to make a segment for this, setting this up, but I didn't, so I'll just paint a picture for you. Pretend that Hermenegildo Ramirez came out to the ring cutting a promo saying that I'm so bored, I've got no title match tonight, there's no worthy competitor to challenge me, yada yada yada. Riker Zucker says, not so fast, you actually, from my notes, you actually are in the match card, you are set to defend your championship. Hermenegildo Ramirez is like, who? And Santiago Campa, a well-respected Viva La Lucha worker, comes down and makes a one-off challenge to Hermenegildo Ramirez. We only signed him to a one appearance contract, so we're not going to be seeing a ton of him. He came in, he doesn't have the best popularity in the Mid-South, he's sitting right in the low 20s, but he comes in, gets an in-ring performance of 39. Hermenegildo Ramirez blows him out of the water with a 75 in-ring performance, carrying this match up to a 56 rating. And granted, the low popularity certainly didn't help him. He's actually a really solid worker and does some good work over in Viva La Lucha, but we just couldn't get that work. We just couldn't get him that kind of reception. But my God, that performance of a 75 just shows why Hermenegildo Ramirez is still champion. And this is defense number 7 of that championship reign. Our main event of the night, a rematch from the last event, as Neil Allman and Black Bull are once again going mano a mano for the WHAM Heavyweight Championship. Unfortunately, Black Bull was really off of his game, but fortunately for us, Neil Allman was definitely on his game, as he came in correct with an in-ring performance of 72. Black Bull just had a 49. Unfortunate for our heavyweight champion. We want to see a little bit better if he's really going to be toting the main strap, but you know, it's Black Bull. I love him. Another no-nonsense match. Very physical, very competitive, not one-sided at all, despite Black Bull's most recent encounters being very much one-sided. Black Bull had to work for this one, and Neil Allman made him work for it. Neil Allman was doing everything he could, but Black Bull is just an imposing-ass dude right now, and he's on another level. Bronson Fraley would make some attempts to cause some distractions. However, we would see the Dark Carnival come to the defense of Black Bull, not allowing any kind of shenanigans. They wouldn't cause any deterrence for him in this match. They would only serve to remove Bronson Fraley from ringside. Once Bronson Fraley kind of got caught by Black Bull doing what he shouldn't be doing, the Dark Carnival eventually made their way down. They get physically involved with Bronson Fraley, eventually taking him up the curtain. Neil Allman is like, damn. He knows he's not in a good place with Bronson Fraley getting carried out. However, he kept his eyes on the match. We couldn't keep this match too long because Black Bull still can't go that long. But ultimately, we see a clean finish, more or less. Black Bull hitting Neil Allman with the gore. The battle between the Gore and the Pounce. And the Gore comes out on top here, as Black Bull defends his championship for the second time in his short title reign. Match rating of 66. Strong way to end the night. That would result in a show rating of 64. Strong card top to bottom. Nothing on the main card getting yellow numbers. That is crucial at this point. Unfortunately, the women's championship match was a little underwhelming. We gotta make some more progress with the women's popularity. That's why I was so hesitant to bring in a women's division, is because I know I get a little tunnel visioned when on one gender. I won't lie, I struggle with it. But it's something that I'll get better at. It hasn't been too much of an issue yet. I mean, it has been introduced exactly how I've imagined it. I haven't gotten too distracted, I don't think, to the exception of that whole morale thing. That morale thing definitely put a delay in establishing the women's division, but I digress. Great card, top to bottom, just under 4,000 people in attendance. The champions all retain their straps. No title changes here tonight, but we do have some big developments, as we know that Maxwell Ham will be challenging Chuck Wellington for the Oklahoma Openweight Championship. As it stands at the end of the event, Bronson Fraley has not been seen, and Hermenegildo Ramirez stands tall against a very formidable competitor from Viva La Lucha. Sebastian Morales got a win back on Rahan Marlowe, and we're going to see the continuation of Moses Lillian and Turner Spiller, two big dudes. We praised Super Monkey, Talia Rayleigh, and Joe Cartwright after the show, profiting nearly $50,000 on this one, thanks to our uptick not only in the merchandise sales, but we have some strong ticket sales here as well, and our post-show finances were now sitting at $400,000. And in back-to-back shows, we bump the popularity in our home region of the Mid-South, going from 55 to 56 after this show. And as you can see, Santiago Campa has now left the WHAM thanks to his contract expiring after the single appearance, and our deal with Southwest Radio is about to expire, so we are going to go and address that. And this time I'm not going to forget to give us our fucking share of the money this time around. 100% to the WHAM, they're cool with that. Another year. If we move up to the late night slot, they don't like the idea. We'd have to pay $7,500 per show. It's something that I'm thinking about now that our finances are day and night from where they used to be. They're no longer any kind of handicap or really anything we have to be super mindful of in these kind of stages right now. But I'm not going to do it. We're going to keep it in the graveyard, and we will see what comes from there. They do agree, not surprising. We're going to sign it. I think our backstage locker room morale being good was the main catalyst for why everyone seemed to be just a little bit more on their game in this last show, and it is incredibly satisfying knowing what we came from. I was just perusing some things and some recent results from the last shows, and I was thinking about it. Archie Filer is in TWA. Initially, I like that they're in this TWA is very active when they're on tour, and it's a good way to get guys experience rather quickly. However, given what happened with Matu Scarborough and the fact that Archie Filer's already been injured before, I'm just going to pull the trigger and we are going to send Archie Filer an exclusive contract deal. We're just going to offer him 25 bucks and we're going to see if this is enough to make him go exclusive. It seems that it will be, and we made that offer. We're going to see if TWA has a counteroffer. I haven't seen a counteroffer yet in this entire save though, but I would love to lock him up exclusively. I just realized I forgot to put a date on it. Let's go back. Let's make it for 2 years. Okay, there we go. Now it is official, and hopefully we see Archie Filer become Wham exclusive here very shortly. However, it will be on the next episode. But the last thing we gotta do before we get out of here is check out Goof Wrestling and their most recent event. Albie Dewberry still getting appearances with Goof Wrestling despite being with SPW. I wish there was a way that we could make Goof cut anybody that gets signed to another company. I guess I could manually do that if I really wanted to. Albie Dewberry also has not had a match with SPW yet since he signed. But regardless, in the main event we do see Lionel Seidel defending the Intercontinental Championship against Albie Dewberry and No Cates. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but that's what I'm rolling with. Albie Dewberry in-ring performance of 44 with the youngsters and still just being the star of the show every time. And we can definitely see that they are implementing some of their new faces. They got 4 of their brand new stars all in the opening match. Victor Garza is a part of it. He's only getting in-ring performances of 24. We got D-Generation X back in action. Bobby Shrubsole and Raul Erickson. Rocco Gott in double digits as well as Raul Erickson. That's good for them. And Ben Morris defeating Bernardo Meza. Meza is their booker from Mexico, currently working in Viva La Lucha. Only got 43 days left on his contract in Goof, so we'll see if he continues. However, we have made a ton of progress in this episode, and we are going to head straight for the Frank Norris Memorial event in the next episode. So thank you everybody for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take it easy.